and good morning here. It's my pleasure to talk to you about rankings today because it's a little bit of a love-hate relationship, I think, in the United States. So everyone submits to the rankings, but the reality is in the United States, we've done a very good job creating a very good educational product. And so it's really nominal when you talk about good versus great. They're all pretty fantastic. And I think when you're choosing a school in the US, the rankings don't really reflect very much on quality of education. So the quality of education really is reflected on what type of learning style you would choose and what a student particularly needs. So you may have a #1 top rated school, but if that school gives no attention or support to its undergraduates and has very large class sizes, that might not be the greatest fit for your student when they are, especially in another country, away from their family, away from their home and their culture, and trying to figure out their path forward. They're really needing a lot of support in their first 4 years. And so really what you want to think about is, what is the experience that you want your child to have when they're away from home for the very first time? And as students, that's what you want to think about as well, is when you leave your family, what sorts of environment do you want to move into? Rankings do not tell you anything really. So one good example I like to give is there are a variety of cars available, and some are better and some are worse, but all of them do, if you're choosing wisely and you've chosen a car reflecting on the things that you know about it, then you'll have a car that works well for you. So for example, I own a Subaru. I live in a northern climate. Subarus have 4-wheel drive, which is essential to anyone who lives anywhere there's snow. So I chose that car wisely. And like any car that's out there, there are positives and negatives about that vehicle, but the positives are right for me and they outweigh and fit my needs well. And so when you navigate through what looks good for you, I want you to think about your environment. You're coming all the way to the US. Our villages and towns are not like villages and towns in India. You know, they feel very different. So do you want a smaller environment, a rural environment, a city, or a very large city? Do you want a place where all of your community is around you and residential? And you know that there's always friends around you to support you and a community around you? Or do you want a city campus where everyone sort of disappears into the city and that's your experience? I think thinking a little more critically about the type of space that you choose is incredibly important. And I think sometimes students don't really understand the question, as we say, behind the question, right? So the question behind the question means, like I was just talking about, when we talk about city or rural, we all, think, oh, I grew up in a really huge city, but you were with your family and you had a community of people around you and you were in an environment that felt familiar to you and safe to you. When you go to a new place away from your family and a new environment and a new culture and a new community, a residential campus like Union or Trinity, that might give you a place where you know that you're surrounded by people that are there to support you, to raise you up, to provide a lot of fun, because that's what we do. We spend a lot of time making a lot of fun and activities and ways to support students in that experience and to help you. When you get there, you are going to, we were talking about diversity before. You're going to be surrounded by all sorts of people, but people have chosen this environment for that reason, to get to know you as a person and to share who they are and to really support your success. So when you're worried about, homesickness and getting over jet lag and missing a little bit of food from home, then the thought that someone's paying attention to that and you can cook food together and you don't have to wonder where that community is, knowing that that's there, all of those little things become very big things. The other thing I'll say too about rankings is that we are choosing an educational style in the US. So there's the Indian system, which is a little more similar to the British system, right? So teach to the test to some extent. If it's different if you're an IB AP curriculum, you've had some experience with a Western style education. But there's still some of that sense of teach to the test, right? Cram, study hard, test well, and the test is all that matters. And I was talking to a student the other day. We were talking with a group of students at a high school, and he said, listen, when I came to the US, what you don't realize is how hard you're going to have to work, because it's not just studying for a test. You have to show up for class every single day. You have to participate every single day. You have to turn in research and lessons and readings and participate in class every single day. And I think that is a very different style of education. So if you were just focused on learning for one test, a large classroom environment might be okay for you. But if the expectation is that your grade is reflected on what happens every single day in the classroom, then that is definitely maybe something more conducive to a smaller classroom environment where you can feel comfortable, know the professor, ask them questions when you're a little overwhelmed or confused. So again, remembering that you're choosing a style of education in the United States that's very different. Given that, what type of environment will you be most successful in? Because at the end, how successful you are in college, what type of internships you've had access to. Can undergraduates have access to internships? Or is it just reserved for the graduate students at that top level institution and not for the undergraduates? What type of internships and alumni support do you get? Again, is it only available to the graduate students, or is it also available to you in your first 4 years? So when you think about how successful you are, in the end, you would like to be successful. You would like to go on and have an amazing job, or you would like to go to an amazing graduate school. And that only can happen if you are successful in your first 4 years. So the ranking you should look at is your own ranking, is how do I know myself well? And how do I rank this school for me? And that's the best ranking that you can find, because you will be successful and you will shine. And so that's really what you want for your 4 years. And I think